There he is, locked and loaded and ready to go. ESPN's own Marcel Louis-Jacques. Yeah.
Everybody in the chat should bully Big O into apologizing for calling me a slacker in our group chat. I'm going to take a vow of silence until I get some sort of recognition or apology for this hurtful attack on my character.
Did you not pop in like at 4:02 or 4:03?
Were you in commercial?
Why, with the commercial when you finally showed up?
Nah, I saw you tossed it to commercial.
You're half Cuban, bro. I'm telling you. There's some Cuban somewhere in your family. I don't know where, but there's some Cuban somewhere. Some great-grandfather, some great-grandmother, some great-great-great-great-great-grandmother, grandfather. I don't know, but there's some Cuban in there.
Hey, I was in here at 4:01. I saw you toss it to commercial.
Yeah, I have to toss it because we have to start the new hour since you, of course, have the honor of starting the new hour. And by the way, clearly Tua Tagovailoa listens to this show because every time we talk about something, he then goes out and does it. And there's Marcel. Off script. And there he goes. 4.81 seconds. Slam to the ground. And he's out. You see, he was trying to satisfy you, Marcel, doing off-script stuff. And this is why he's not that guy. You see? You see what you did? You see what you get when you mess with the orphans, warriors? Forget about it. That's another scene. But go ahead.
I am, one, not going to take responsibility for a fluke injury. Two, I'm not going to make light of a fluke injury, a serious but fluke injury.
It's not fluke, bro. It's not fluke.
Concussions are fluke.
No,
dog, until you show me the science of why he continues to be whipped to the ground like that, or what he can do to protect himself from being hit.
No, like no. You're misunderstanding me. What I mean by it's not a fluke anymore. It's what happened to Luke Kuechly. It's what happened to Eric Lindros. It's what happened to Steve Young, and I've watched it with all of them. It took a hard hit to get concussed. But then the next one, it doesn't take that harder of a hit. And then the next one. And while the first one is not labeled as a concussion and he played well in the second half and all that stuff, it was probably a concussion, but it was your first one. And then you triggered a second one. And then 2 months later, you trigger your third one gets triggered even easier. And it reminds me of Eric Lindros. And if you ever get a chance, I'm sure there's a special or something on YouTube that explains Eric Lindros. And the hits weren't nearly as brutal anymore in order for him to get concussed. So it's not flukish anymore. And this is why I've been saying on the show that he really needs to rest the rest of the year and into the offseason, that if you want to try to have a future with Tua Tagovailoa, what you want to do is avoid the fourth concussion in this year, because I think his brain, I think his head needs to kind of rest, because that fourth concussion could be even worse and it compounds the problem, and it might be something he can't come back from. I think it's one of those things that it's not flukish anymore. It's just going to happen a lot easier for him because at the moment he has not allowed his head and his brain to reset. And that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing what happened to those other guys that were forced to retire from their sports because the concussions became worse and they were easier to happen and the headaches were longer and everything else just became, a much bigger problem for them. So it's not that it's flukish. I just think that this is common with these kind of guys when it happens over and over again.
So by fluke, I don't mean, obviously when his head hits the ground, the more concussions you have, the greater chance you have of getting another one. That's not what I mean by fluke. By fluke is his head hitting the ground in the first place.
I know what you're saying.
That's a fluke. That's a fluke injury. It's not like, I don't know. He's extends the play, he gets the ball off, and gets dragged down at the very end from behind by somebody clearly wasn't running away from him. It's not like it's not like he was doing something that warranted a hit like that, or doing something that warranted a concussion. He's not like going head down, initiating contact. It's just like a thing, man. Like,
it was nothing. It was a regular tackle in the NFL. It's a regular tackle in the NFL, but
There's nothing dirty about it. It happens. It's like it's like the Milano push. I don't think was particular. Not the Milano push.
That one
The
put him
sack.
off balance. That one put him off balance when he got pushed back, and that's it. He lost it at that point. So he was out of control on that one. This one was just a regular tackle that you go to the ground and then you hit your head, and it wasn't that vicious, compared to other ones that we see all around. And to me, if that happens in the Buffalo game, that same hit, nothing happens to him, and it's all well and good. But that one was the least of the three, and it's the one that's had more effects, because the Buffalo one clearly didn't affect him. It didn't affect him in the second half. Didn't affect him for the rest of the week.
As far as we know, he was never diagnosed with a concussion against Buffalo. He was never diagnosed with a concussion like that. We have to go with what's on. We have to go with what's on record. He was evaluated during the week. If somehow he did test, he was diagnosed with a concussion during the week and he was still allowed to play, then that is a whole different avenue that we're going down. But I feel like with the PA, NFL, with the joint review from September and October, they would have found if they review these evaluations.
The Buffalo game isn't the Buffalo game the one that he lost his footing.
Ironically, yeah, it was.
Okay. Come on, man. Come on. He
wasn't diagnosed, and that is all I can say about it.
I know that, and I can go with that too, and I can go with all
irresponsible.
That.
It's irresponsible. We know what we saw. We know what we're told.
Come on.
Charitable assumption here. That's all it's called. It's charitable assumption. I can't say he was concussed because we never got word of an official diagnosis. And we saw it in his head. We saw him stumble after. We saw it.
If there was any concussion and they got to hide it because they are afraid of lawsuits, they will also do that too, my man. So, listen, I'm not believing any of this.
But what you have to understand is the PA doesn't give a damn about the teams. The PA couldn't care less about what does and doesn't get the team in trouble. So if the PA got any whiff that he was diagnosed, like that they knew he was concussed, like literally had it,
right.
check, evaluated diagnosis, and they let him play anyways, you better believe the PA would burn, would burn villages down to make sure the team paid for that. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying he was never diagnosed that is all we can go with. That's all we can go with. He was never diagnosed. We saw him. We saw the hit. We saw the stumble.
Hey, listen.
We get told what we're told.
They can tell me whatever they want, bro. That's fine. I'm going to believe what I want to believe. And watching him get woozy, it was a concussion, bro. Please, come on, man. Whatever. Maybe at that, because it was the first one, his body got rid of it quickly.
It wasn't technically his first one. He was concussed the same play that he hurt his hip in college. It was a compound fractured hip or displaced hip and a concussion. So it's not his first. It wasn't his first ever. That one in Alabama was, I believe, the first documented concussion. But still, it's at least three evaluations, 3 instances where he hit the back of his head, 2 documented concussions. Let's say that 2 documented concussions that's what we have to say.
For me, avoid the 4th or 3 out of 4 documented concussions. That's what I would say. I would not play him. I don't care if he clears. I don't care if he wants to play. I would actually say, yeah, we've had enough this year. We need to protect you from you. And here's the other thing. He doesn't learn. So that's the worst part about it. So you're going to have to go into the offseason next year with some kind of a game plan to teach him how to get rid of the football. Because I've tried to tell you about this, but somehow or another, somebody needs to go tell him that he's not an off-script quarterback. His body can't take it, and his athleticism doesn't bring it. That's why they caught him by the knees. Why? Because he's like Baker Mayfield. He can't outrun a drunk cop. That's just the way it goes, dude. You know what I'm saying? It's just that's who they are. Work in the pocket, get rid of the ball quickly, make your decision, and get the hell out. Drew Brees wasn't running around trying to make plays either. That's why I think you also can't play him. Not only does his brain needs a rest, but he needs to have a thorough education on learning how to get rid of the football. Earlier in that game, Marcel, he fumbled because he held on to the goddamn ball. Luckily, Robert Hunt collected the fumble. But again, it's because he keeps trying to be the hero. And brother, just do your job within 3 seconds and you'll be a hero.
Well, and that is the difficulty of playing off script. Like that's the difficulty of knowing when to say die and when to extend. Like it's not a perfect science. It's not a black and white game plan where you say like if this then this, if that then that. It's a lot more instinctual than that. And you can build those instincts. Like if you don't have them naturally, you can build them through time and experience. The problem is like, yeah, it's been a difficult path to get there. It's been you're learning the hard way, essentially.
Marcel, same exact play that he got injured in. It's Mahomes running. It's whoever like can actually Josh Allen or whatever. Do you think they catch him by the ankles? No, they miss. That guy dives and misses because those guys are faster and more athletic. He can't outrun
that's not a lie.
people. That's not who
right there.
It's not who he is, doggy. I keep trying to tell you that. He can't play that game.
But it doesn't off script, it doesn't always have to be the same Mahomesian, Josh Allen, stiff arm hurdle. Like it doesn't have to be a 5-second. It could be as simple as step out of the pocket. And if your first read is not there, if your first emergency read isn't there, then chuck it away. Like it's about development. Like I said on Sunday, it's not just Tua; it's the offense as a whole. Like Green Bay, you saw it. We saw it firsthand. Green Bay has scramble drills when Aaron Rodgers leaves the pocket. I do not know. I can't state for absolute certain that Miami does the same thing. So, like, it's a offense as a whole needs to develop that. So it's not just Tua can't, Tua's this and that. It could be as simple as okay, and we saw it. For example,
the fumble play is a perfect example of dude, get rid of the goddamn ball. And he's trying to make a play and trying to find no, get rid of it. Once you're finding yourself scrambling, what are you doing already at that point? Get rid of the ball already. The play's over.
There has to be the internal clock. The internal clock has to be continuously ticking. It's just, and like I said on Sunday, it's just, and maybe the concussion explains some of these throws. The throw to Mostert, the interception to Gesicki, but
they're bad.
Even before Sunday though, he has a habit where it seems like he locks into a receiver pre-snap, and then because they're so used to that timing being so punctual all season that he's saying it's going to be there, and he throws it without reading what's happening. Right, if Tyreek gets jammed at the line of scrimmage, he's not going to be where you think he's going to be anymore.
Right.
And so off script is as simple as that, as simple as going off of your brain's script of what you expect the play to be. There have been instances. Listen, there have been instances where he's going to that read that he's forcing, and somebody else is wide open, and he has to also be able. Now, again, remember, Tua is a young quarterback, so it's not like he's a finished product or anything like that. So he's got to experience these things and go through it. But in the process, he's got to find a way to keep himself healthy, my brother. That's really the whole thing. You make a great point on having options for the quarterback like Green Bay does. But yeah, it's one of those where, hey, by the way, the coach has to assist them too. When you're running, stay with the running game. Keep your quarterback fresh. Keep him off of him. Less hits for him. All those things. Hold the clock. Run the clock. Less possessions for Josh Allen. Less possessions for Aaron Rodgers. These are things too that Mike McDaniel has to also help Tua out. Yeah, and I won't say that they. Let me see. I believe I still have the game open. when you look at it on paper, like they did a decent job of controlling the ball. 28 minutes to 32. Obviously, they still lose time of possession, but that's a lot. It's a hell of a lot better than we've seen in the previous, we'll call it the 3 games before that. Green Bay was 2 of 14 on third down. Like they played a decent game. Like Miami played a decent game. It was truly the 4 turnovers were the difference maker in the game. So like they have been. I will. Because I asked Mike about that after the game. What the challenge has been in sustaining drives, and he said we just turned it over today. This was not like our previous 3 games, and he's right. When you go look at the tape, they could sustain drives until they turned it over. So I feel like the offense, they were on that up and up, like they were on the path to correcting it. So it makes it just even more of a shame that Tua is hurt. Not that. Of course, the injury is bigger than football, but just from a football perspective, it's unfortunate because I think they were on the cusp of turning it around, and I think this New England game would have been that would have been the get right. That would have been the get right game. It's a team that's really struggling.
I'm a McDaniel fan. I like what he's done overall this year. There are some holes in his game, but again, just like Tua, he's a young coach, a young head coach, so he's got to learn certain things like the running game that when it's working, he doesn't stick with it. His refusal to find a way to use Gesicki or whatever, or putting Braylon Sanders in a position 2 weeks ago that he wasn't ready to perform at. There are things that I can, pick on him for. But one of the things that I need to feel a little better about him going into next season is I need you to, if you ever watch Top Gun or Maverick, there's a scene that repeats twice, one by Goose and then by his son in Maverick, and he goes to Maverick, come on, Maverick, show me some of that pilot shit, right, in a moment, right? And Maverick has to go and beat the MiGs and whatever, all that good stuff. Well, Mike McDaniel, these next 2 weeks, show me some of that coaching shit, right? He can't go 0-2, bro. He can't go 0-2. 0-2 would put me in a spot where I got to kind of put him on double secret probation next year because you have lost every game without Tua. These are games that are winnable. You've got a serviceable quarterback that has played in the NFL, has started in the NFL, has all the practice time now to get ready for you. How imperative is it that Mike McDaniel at least wins one of these next 2 games?
Well,
if he wins both,
like you gotta
phenomenal. But does he have to win at least one of the 2?
Yeah, the financial capital that they invested into this season to not make the playoffs after that, not even just the financial and the draft capital that went into this season, you can't afford to not make the playoffs. Like it would be a unmitigated failure, and it doesn't matter if you can explain it away. It doesn't matter if you could say, well, this happened and then this happened and then this happened, because you lost 4 games in a row when 3.5 of them your quarterback was perfectly healthy. The team played poorly. No, you have to win at least one. I'm not saying you have to go. You got to go 2-0 here. You have to make the playoffs, man.
Right. You're not facing the Chiefs and the Bills, right? You're facing 2 mediocre offenses, 2 excellent defenses, but you're facing 2 very mediocre offenses. This ain't the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Bengals left on your schedule. You're facing the Jets and you're facing the Pats, bro. You should be able to win one of those 2.
What makes it so tough is because it feels like there's been an excuse every step of the way, a reasonable excuse, but an excuse every step of the way. And if you've got an employee and they have a legit excuse every single time why they're late, I mean, shit like, I'm sorry, my dog ate this. Somebody hit my car. So that eventually it's like, damn, like I don't really want to hear the excuses anymore, right? Like, so at first it was Tua was hurt. Okay, starting quarterback is out. Then it was, okay, the immediate backup was kicked out the game the first play of the game for some bullshit. Okay, I can explain. Okay. Then it was the next week, the same thing happened, and your starter was removed from the game for an injury, and the backup had to play. Okay, I get it. But like, how many more times, you know what I'm saying? How many more times can you say that before you eventually just say, I don't care about the excuses. The result is what matters. And we keep hearing in press conferences, that the whole, it's next man up. We're confident. This is why we get him. This is why we did this, that, and that. Like, if they're not making the excuse, the hell do I look like making the excuse?
No, the roster's
so if you don't think this is a problem, I'm not going to treat it like a problem. If the head coach is going to look me in the eye and say we can win games with Teddy Bridgewater, I'm not going to go if they lose. I'm not going to grab my damn sword and shield like fucking Jon Snow in the Battle of the Bastards and say their quarterbacks was hurt. Like, it's not that. That's not me. That's not my job. That's not any of our jobs to do. So you have to win. You have to win these games, man. Or at least you have to make the playoffs. I don't care which game you win. If you don't beat you have to beat the Jets at the very least. Let's just call it that. You have to beat the Jets at the very least, because that's the one. Like, they can lose one as long as the Jets lose one, and they can have a direct result in the Jets losing one. So, man, you cannot miss the playoffs with this roster, with all that you traded to get Tyreek Hill, with all the money you paid to Teron Armstead, with all the money you paid to Mike McDaniel, to all the money you paid to Bradley Chubb, and all the picks you traded for Bradley Chubb. You can't. You simply cannot.
I agree. I agree 100%. That's why I need McDaniel to show me some coaching here these 2 weeks and show me you can do something outside of your starter that you can at least overcome at time. I'm not asking you all the time to overcome, because that's hard for any coach. But out of these 2 games, one of them has to be won. You have to show me something. And plus, your roster's good enough to win one of those 2 games. That, to me, is the most important part. You have a good enough roster to get it done. So show me some coaching here in the next 2 weeks. And the other thing I don't want to see, I'm a little tired. Do they have to simplify things, because guys are still running wrong routes and they're not doing the things that they're supposed to do at times, and they're making mistakes? Is that something that needs to be simplified?
I don't think so. I don't think so, man. Like, it has been it's been 8 months at this point when they start practicing in May. So it's been 7 months at this point of install and learning this offense. You need to get it. You need to understand it by now, man. I don't know what's gone into what's been installed lately, or like what their checks are, what the calls are, what this, that, and the third is. Like, I can't speak to that, but you're pro, man. You're a pro. Like, you have to figure it out. Like, wrong routes, bad miscommunication, it shouldn't be a thing in December. It shouldn't be a thing in December. So, like, again, that's another one of those things. I don't know if I'm particularly interested in legitimizing as an excuse. Like, if things are too complicated, like, either they're not too complicated, you're just not learning it, you just don't know it, or not learning it fast enough, or they are too complicated, and as a coach, you need to recognize that and fix it. Like, it doesn't matter whose fault it is. It's just not something that needs to be happening in December. Not after all the talk that we heard about playing best football in December, during the win streaks, during the 3-0 start, during the, we don't care about September. It's December or January that matters. Well, you're right, man. December is mattering. December is mattering. You're first place in the AFC at the end of November. In the AFC, not the East.
Yeah.
The first seed entering the bye week. And now you're in a place where you got to win at least one game to make playoffs. You haven't clinched yet in week 17. So, yeah, December matters. December matters, I'd say.
What do you think happens with Tua? What's your gut tell you? Does he play again this season?
Man, it feels kind of irresponsible to guess and to try to forecast and try to do this and that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't want to lead you guys the wrong way. I don't want to, like.
It's what we do.
Yeah,
it's not, there's no disrespect in guessing or using our gut to think what they should. Like, I think they should rest them for the remainder of the year, man. It's not like they're going to the Super Bowl, dude. Give me a break. Come on.
I think they should. I think they should probably rest him. I think they should probably sit him and shut him down for the year. That is my opinion, without knowledge of
Of
You
course.
know what? I don't know what his brain scans look like. I don't know what medical professionals say. Well, yes, I do. They're all saying the ones on social media are all saying no, either retire or don't play this year. But no, I think in my uneducated opinion, just based on the frequency of the hits he's taken and how fresh the Bengals game still is for all of us involved.
Yep.
It would just
And the Bills game, dude, whether you like it or not, the optics are there. Okay? They're there. The guy could not hold his balance. Come on.
it's been too
Too much.
way too there's way too big of a spotlight on here. And I know like you can't operate as if somebody will get hurt all the time. Like that's not a sustainable way to operate in the NFL. You can't say, oh, well, what if he gets hurt? What if it's football? Like in all reality, humans shouldn't be playing this game if we're worried about staying perfectly healthy. So like there's risk involved. But
Your boy Doug Whaley. Your boy Doug Whaley got in trouble for that, but he was the only one that was willing to tell the truth in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, like it's.
Were you in Buffalo at that time, or you got there just after Whaley said those comments?
I got there's Brandon Bean's second. No,
so it's after Whaley.
Yeah,
so it's after Whaley.
But
hey man, don't tell people the truth.
I'll tell you, I did.
Whaley, bro.
They cut the interview down significantly. It was about 8 seconds of a 20-minute interview. But I was on Good Morning America today, and they asked me what I thought, what changes I thought needed to be done to the concussion policy. And I was like, they already changed the policy. Like I didn't see a problem with the change. It's just two things. One, it's an imperfect protocol in that you cannot 100% protect a player from getting a concussion. Like, in matter of fact, nothing in the protocol is protecting them against concussions themselves. The protocol or what happens after one is sustained. So, like, if the only way to 100% protect guys from, brain injuries is, again, to not play football. And that's not on the cards, man. Like, that's not on the table right now.
I'll tell you what's also not on the table, and they can do this, my brother. They just don't feel like doing this. But they put sensors all over your body to see if you're running too much and all that. If they felt like putting sensors inside that helmet, that when you put it on, boom, that's it. It's making connect with your skull, and somebody rocks your skull, they can, if they felt like it, they could have real-time readings like they have real-time readings on everything else that they put on your body to do it, but they haven't done it to the helmet yet. Right?
Next time I see one of the next gen guys in the box, I'm going to bring that up to him because I had a guy last year who told me there's a lot. I can't speak to the possibility of the helmet thing, but I had somebody last year tell me like there's a lot of tech that they're capable of that they're not doing. Like there's a lot of things they're capable of doing with this technology that are not necessarily, are not.
My brother, they've got sensors now in baseball that they put on their elbows and their shoulders. And so while they're pitching, they know the strain they're putting on each of their muscles and all that stuff. And so they're trying to avoid ACL. What is it? Not ACL.
Tommy John.
Yeah, I know it's Tommy John, but what the
UCL?
UCL. There you go. Nice job. The ulcer or ulteral collateral ligament, or whatever the hell it is. They're trying to avoid all that and tears in the shoulder and the rotator cuff and all that stuff. And so they keep track of all that stuff. You think they can do it here? Of course.
I'm not saying they can't. I'm not saying they can't. I'm saying I can't personally speak to it.
Can you imagine with linemen and linebackers and running backs?
It would just be a constant red flare-ups all game long. But one thing I will say, and again,
come on, man, concussions are happening in boxing like 3 or 4 times in a 12-round fight.
Cut from the interview, but I'll be damned if I'm not going to get this opinion off. Operating under an abundance of caution. That is what we were told the NFL was going to do moving forward after changes to the protocol. That is why we saw Teddy Bridgewater removed from a game in which he didn't hit his head and he didn't stumble. At least I don't think he hit his head. I don't remember him hitting his head, but definitely didn't stumble. But that's why somebody thought they saw it, and there it goes. He's in protocol despite never being diagnosed with concussion. But if that was the standard, what I'm looking for out of this joint review is, did the spotter see Tua hit his head on the ground? Yes or no? Which, if the answer is no, you probably need to be removed because you have every camera angle in the stadium at your disposal. And some guy sitting on the couch on the broadcast saw it, but the guy whose job it is, who gets paid, I don't know how much, but gets paid to do this, missed it. That's fire.
And by the way, you're watching the guy that's been concussed twice, technically, already this year. So why wouldn't you be watching him on every single play? Because he's also a guy that's a lightning rod for the league, as we can see what's happened since.
That goes into abundance of caution, above and beyond. That is, from my understanding, that is the NFLPA's concern with every single one of these reviews is, did somebody do their job or did they go above and beyond? We know what the baseline of your job is, to look for concussion-inducing plays. Above and beyond would be, note on the side, number one has a history of concussions, or a roster, put a check or a dot next to every player who has a concussion, several dots per player if they've had multiple of them, and those guys get extra attention. So let's say they did see it. They did. But he didn't stumble afterwards. Is that the reason why it was never flagged or sent down to the sideline? What went into the decision not to? Because hindsight's 20/20, but it would make sense that this guy has this exact same injury 2 times this year. The exact same thing has happened 2 times this year. No part of you said, when you knew you were going to work the Dolphins game, did you not do research into it? Were you not aware? Are you that unaffiliated that you don't know? But what went into, were you not aware of the background to the point that when you see something like that happen, nothing inside of you said, I should maybe flag the sidelines to say, let's chat with him on the side. Maybe he passes it, because by all account, he didn't have any symptoms on Sunday, but it's conflicting now. You see like some loud whispers now, but officially there were no symptoms, so he could have passed it. But then at least you can say, we saw it and we tried. Like, we saw it and we flagged it. We talked about it. He passed. We're on the right side of history here, instead of having to do this damn review thing all over again, which I know nobody is freaking happy about. No side. The team's not happy. I don't think Tua's happy about it. I don't think the NFL is happy about it. I don't think the PA is necessarily happy about it. The fact that they've got to do it, they feel like they have to do it. So now we're in a situation where the media is not happy. Fans aren't happy. Fans don't want to hear it. I saw my mentions yesterday. Fans don't want to hear it. Media doesn't want to cover it. I don't want to cover another Tua concussed. I don't want this guy concussed. I don't want to cover player injuries. Like, I don't want to have to write about this. So yeah, I think there's some things that I'm looking forward to learning in this review. I don't think the NFLPA believes the Dolphins did anything nefarious. Again, from my understanding, it's not that that the Dolphins did anything wrong. It's that, given his very recent history with concussions, that played a significant factor in their decision to elevate the independent review into an official joint review. So, like, if it was, if Pat Mahomes did this, or if Josh Allen's had a concussion before, but not this year. But you know what I'm saying? If it was one of those guys and this happened, I don't think there would be a review. I think this is, like, you guys are right. Like, it is specifically because it's Tua. And I don't think that's something, when the time comes for them to speak, I don't think that's something that PA will shy away from admitting.
All right, there you go. What do you think happens on Sunday? Do they win?
Let's see. My bold prediction for our game preview: Teddy Bridgewater hasn't won a start since December 2021. The Dolphins haven't won since November 27th. Both of those things come to an end on Sunday. Monster games from Waddle and Hill. They utilize the short passing game. We know what they could do after the catch. Patriots are struggling, and they don't get right on Sunday. Dolphins win. And I think the Jets lose as well. Dolphins clinch. And then you don't have to worry about playing Tua in Week 18. You can sit them again.
It's a beautiful thing. I love it. I love it. Follow him on Twitter at Marcel_LJ. Catch his exceptional work at ESPN, dressing sharp and looking sharp. Appreciate you, brother. We will talk post game. Hopefully, we'll be talking about a happy post game show.
All right, y'all. Peace.
You got it. Be good. There you go. Marcel Louis-Jacques, by the way, Edge energy drink, the finest energy drink on the planet. It is delicious. It's smooth and zero aftertaste. And I can tell you that most energy drinks can't make that claim. Delicious, smooth, and zero aftertaste, especially that zero aftertaste stuff. Oh, God, most of these sports drinks, energy drinks have that aftertaste. Edge does not. Go to myedgedrink.com, order it to your home, your office. Use our code Big O. Get 10% off, only 78 calories. Plus, it's an amazing elixir. You now have the edge.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.